Sup nerds, it's time once again to ruin your locals. Starting off with our Tamer, we are running 4 Koromon from BT12, inheritable, your turn once per turn, one of your red or yellow Tamers becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets a minus 1000 DP. We are playing the yellow base for a few reasons, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but these are definitely the best Tamer you want to play. On to our rookies. Best rookie in the deck, our Searching Agumon from BT12. On play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add a Greymon and a Marcus Damon among them to your hand. And the inheritable, your turn once per turn. When one of your red or yellow Tamers becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP. And also this evos for 0 on top of Koromon, so you can ignore this, although you do have the option of evoing for 1 or 0 on top of your Koromon, so that is something to keep in mind. Like if you're going first and you do not have something else to do to pass turn, like you can just choke your opponent to 1 randomly by just evoing for 1. That does come up. It depends on what your hand is, but that is something to keep in mind. And then 4 more Agumons, BT13 Agumon. Main, your turn once per turn. If the turn, one of your Marcus Damons is also treated as a 3000 DP Digimon and can't evo. This lets you just sneak out game shots, especially with your BT13 Marcus that can't naturally treat itself as a Digimon for the turn. And the inheritable is your turn once per turn. When one of your red or yellow Tamers becomes suspended, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. This effect is optional, so it's something to keep in mind. You can stack your DP based effects and then activate this at the last moment, where you can pop something. And this one, like the other Agumon, can evo for 0 or 1. So all of our rookies can do that, so that is something to keep in mind. And then last but not least, 3 more Agumons from EX4. Start of your main phase, if you have a red or yellow Tamer in play, gain 1 memory. This is just a nice little extension if you push it out from raising. Basically, the ones you want to evo in raising are these 7, because these allow you to get extra effects when you push out at the beginning of your main phase. The other Agumon, if you can, you just want to hard play those to get your Scourge on. And then the inheritable is your turn once per turn. When one of your red or yellow Tamers becomes suspended, draw 1. This helps us dig deeper into our deck for all of our pieces. And that is it. We're just running 11 rookies. On to our champions, one of the best champions in the deck. Potentially the best champion. ShineGreymon, evos for 2 on top of Agu with Dinosaur in trait. All of our Agus have Dinosaur in the trait, but also can evo for 3. This is something else you want to keep in mind. If you're trying to choke your opponent to 1, you can choose which one of these you want to pay. And then when Digivolving, if you don't have a Marcus Damon in play, you may play 1 from your hand without paying the cost. So this is a really good turn 2 play. Just push out, evo, bang. Free Marcus. The inheritable is the same as BT12 Agu. Your turn once per turn. When one of your red or yellow Tamers becomes suspended, minus 2000 DP one of your opponent's Digimon. And then 4 more Geos from EX4. Same situation here, 3 and 2 cost. Then start of your main phase, if you have a red or yellow Tamer in play, gain 1 memory. So this is the exact same effect as EX4 Agu. Really good to evo in your raising area to push out. And then the inheritable is your turn once per turn. Whenever your red or yellow Tamers become suspended, draw 1. Very nice for digging into our Wombo pieces. And then, of course, we are playing the one of BT13 Geo that recently got limited on the new updated ban list. I will say this deck is probably the deck that cared the least about this card getting hit, as far as the ones that actually played it, because this deck doesn't really need this card. Like if this card didn't exist, this deck would still be just as strong. So the effect is, when Digivolving, search your security stack. You may play 1 red or yellow Tamer card among them without paying the cost. If you did, recover 1. Obviously that's a really strong effect, but that's basically like super sacky if you're not already like swinging with your Marcuses and already ahead and they're recovering in your security, so you know they're there. Like I can't tell you how many times I've whiffed on this effect, and I'm sure most Shine players will tell you like you whiff on this more often than not, especially if you're only playing 8 Marcuses. But it is a very good effect, and there's no reason not to play it as a one of. And the inheritable is your turn once per turn. When one of your red or yellow Tamers becomes suspended, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. And then we are running a 10th champion, 1 BT2 ShineGreymon, 4 to hard play, which is pretty nice sometimes. 2 to evo on top of yellow. Everybody's yellow. And the inheritable may come up, but probably not. This is more just another yellow champion that we can play that's also a Geo. When attacking, if you have 3 or more yellow Tamers in play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. So most games you won't even see this card. It'll be like it's not even in the deck, but it is nice to have a 10th champion, just so we don't miss on a piece to evo up in our stacks. This is not once per turn, but we do not have ways to unsuspend and swing again, so it might as well be once per turn in this deck. And that is it. We were just playing 10 champions. Onto our ultimates. We are, of course, playing 4 of one of the best cards in the deck, BT13 Rise Greymons, evos for 3 specifically on ShineGreymon, That's why this is a ShineGreymon, but you can choose to pay this cost instead if you're trying to choke your opponent to 1 once again. When Digivolving, you may play 1 Marcus Damon from your hand without paying the cost, so this just lets you poop out your Marcus Damons, very nice. And then all turns once per turn, when one of your red or yellow Tamers becomes deleted, place 1 Marcus Damon from your trash on top of your security stack face down. That's not optional, although I can't imagine a time when you wouldn't want to do that. And then the Inheritable is the exact same thing. So these are 2 separate effects. So if you swing with 1 Marcus while this is face up, it dies, you recover it, and then you even on top of it swing with another one, this effect will be separate. So you can actually trigger this 2 times in 1 turn effectively off the 1 card. That is something to keep in mind. I see some people think that, like, for some reason, like, because it's the same effect, they think that you can only trigger it once, even though you're evoing on top of it. But yeah, that is something you can and should be proccing twice in 1 turn if you're swinging out with your Marcuses. And then on to our other ultimate. We are running 4 BT2 ShineGreymon. Evos for 3 on top of all yellow level 4s, so no options here. When Digivolving, you may play 1 yellow Tamer card from your hand without paying the cost. Any on-play effects do not activate. And then the Inheritable is, while you have 3 or more yellow Tamers, this Digimon gains security attack +1. So the reason why we're playing this over your other choices is because this is a yellow Greymon that we can evo into for free off Marcus, but also you want to be able to burst into ruin mode whenever you want, and your level 5s all need to be able to play out of Marcus for free for that to be the case. Because obviously it doesn't matter if you get the on play of the broken Marcus from BT12 because it doesn't have one. You just need to be able to put it into play whenever you want. And that is it. We are playing 8 ultimates, and obviously that card is the only yellow ultimate that can do that. That's also a Greymon card. That's one of the reasons why we're playing the yellow base. On to our megas. We're playing 4 BT2 ShineGreymon. Evos for 4 on top of all yellow level 5s. When Digivolving, suspend all of your yellow Tamers, not optional. For each Tamer you suspend this way, activate the following effect. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 4,000 DP for the turn. So these are individual effects, so you can spread the 4Ks amongst your opponent's Digimon in whatever way you want. So you can clear entire boards with this effect, especially when you stack it with the BT14 Marcus Damon effect, which also has an effect when it's suspended, of minusing 3K and gaining a memory. And then your turn, this Digimon gets 1,000 DP for each Tamer you have in play. So you can just swing massively for 2 checks with this guy if he's on top of the BT2 rise. That can come up. But he's also just going to be pretty beefy, and you can swing over stuff randomly if for some reason you can't DP reduce them. And this is the primary way we're able to burst into ruin mode whenever we want, is because this forces our Tamers to suspend. So it doesn't matter if they're treated Digimon or whatever, we're just suspending them and triggering their effects. And then we are playing 1 BT12 ShineGreymon. So this guy can evo for 3 on top of ShineGreymon in name, or 4, so that is a choice there. When Digivolving, for each yellow and or red Tamer you have in play, one of your opponent's Digimon and all of your opponent's security Digimon get minus 3,000 DP for the turn. So you can potentially kill 1 stack with this guy when you go into him, and also it makes your opponent's security Digimon smaller. And then your turn, all of your Marcus Damon in play get plus 3,000 DP and gain security attack +1. So you can OTK people using this card if you have enough Marcuses out. It does make killing people pretty easy if you've had a chance to set up. We're only playing this guy though because we want to play 5 megas, and he's the second best ShineGreymon to play in this deck. And that is it. We are playing 5 level 6s. On to our level 7s. We are playing 4 of one of the most broken cards ever printed, ShineGreymon Ruin Mode. Evos for 5 on top of yellow, but evos for 4 on top of ShineGreymon. So unless you're trying to choke your opponent to 1, you always want to pay 4. If you're even paying memory to evo into this card, spoilers. So the effects are, when Digivolving / on deletion, not once per turn. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, all of your opponent's Digimon get minus 5,000 DP. This is one of the best stun cards they've ever printed in this game. This effect is super broken. This will basically force your opponent to skip their entire turn if they do not have something they can push out that will be bigger than this threshold. Otherwise, they just can't play. They just have to set up Tamers or whatever, or just hard pass. And because this isn't once per turn, you can trigger this twice in 1 turn and make it minus 10,000 DP on your opponent's field, which makes it that much harder for them to be able to play the game on their turn. And the end of attack effect is delete this Digimon, so that will proc this effect, and one of your opponent's Digimon, so it will delete something else in your opponent's field that doesn't have protection, and recover +1. Then if you have a Tamer in play, hatch 1 Digi-Egg card to an empty space in your breeding area, so it lets you just set up for the next turn. This guy is the best card in the deck. This is the whole point of the deck, is to be able to go into this guy as much as possible. We want to see it early and often. There's no reason not to run the full playset of 4. This is the #1 reason why we were playing yellow base, is because we want our training cards to be able to search the most broken card in the deck, because this guy's half yellow. He is not red, so we cannot search it off the red trainings. On to our Tamers. You guessed it, Marcus Damon from BT12. We're playing 4 of them. Start of your main phase, if you have an Agumon or Greymon in its name, by paying 1 memory for the turn, this Tamer is also treated as a 3000 DP Digimon that can't Evo. So these are free little swings at your opponent's security, little chip shots, and then your turn, when this Digimon becomes suspended, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a yellow card with Greymon in its name without paying the cost. So imagine Evoing into this guy for free. That's what this deck does. This deck just can spam Ruin Mode. It can burst into Ruin Mode out of nowhere and give your opponent like 3 memory, even less sometimes, and go into Ruin Mode without passing turn very easily. These two are the engine of the deck, being able to proc this guy to Evo into this guy, but you sometimes can just hard Evo into this guy, obviously, and it still does the same thing. And then we are also playing 4 BT13 Marcus Damon. Start of your turn, set your memory to 3, so this guy is a memory setter, which is nice. On play, you may suspend this Tamer, which is cool if you do play it for free off of one of your effects that lets you get on plays, or if it's checked out of security, you can also proc that. And then all turns, when this Tamer becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. Then if you have a Digimon with Agumon or Greymon in its name, gain 1 memory. So what's cool about this is if you have these guys out and you go into BT2 Shine, this gives you an additional 3000 DP for each one of these guys you're proccing the effect with, as well as gaining memory back. So this is really, really cool to combo with your BT2 Shine. And that is it. We were just playing 8 Tamers. And then onto our option cards, we are running 4 physical training cards, the yellow training card. 2-cost option, main, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, add a yellow card among them to your hand, and then place this card in the battle area. This obviously adds Tamers as well as other options, so you can training into training, and you can add the Marcus off this, you can add Ruin Mode off this, obviously. Security is place it in the battle area, and the main delay effect is you trash this, and then one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a yellow Digimon card in your hand for its Digivolution cost, reducing it by 2. The Evo reduction is not super necessary in this deck, but the fact that this card searches anything in the deck and is also not a body that you have to play onto the field to play into like a Lugumon matchup, for example, is really nice. To this day, we have nothing that like interacts with delay cards, although your opponent can play like a Cutemon on you and keep this Evo reduction from happening, but that's not the reason why this card is good in this deck. It's good because it searches all your pieces. And that is it, and I'll just show you guys a quick combo into Ruin Mode. Here's a very brief demonstration of how to burst out of Ruin Mode in this deck for pretty much free. So you either need to have 3 memory guaranteed, already have a BT12 Marcus Damon on the field, or have one of these guys, which is pretty easy to set up. So I could be at 1 memory with a training card on the field. I push out, proc the physical training, trash it, Evo into Rise Greymon for 1 memory, trigger Rise Greymon effects, play this Marcus for free. Now I'm at 0 or whatever. And now normally you wouldn't be able to proc this effect until the next turn when you could treat it as a Digimon, because obviously it can't have Rush. And that's also a start of main phase effect. But what you can do is just Evo into BT2 Shine. Shine will suspend this guy against his will. Then this effect will trigger after you minus 4000 DP on one of your opponent's Digimon, and it'll just Evo into Ruin Mode for free. So you've given your opponent 4 memory, assuming nothing else is on the field, and you just Ruin Moded their whole board. And if you have any other extra setup besides that, you can usually do this without passing turn, and it's definitely going to skip your opponent's next turn. The way you want to go about abusing this card is making sure you can stun your opponent at the right time when they're about to pop off on you, and also being wary of the DP of whatever they have in the raising area. Like if they have something bigger than 5k, you'd want to proc both effects so they can't push out. If they have something smaller than 5k, you'd want to just proc 1 and then be able to use it again on your next turn for another minus 5k and potentially go into a second one. That is the name of the game. This deck is all about Ruin Mode spam. We're trying to stun lock people into oblivion while we just chip away at their security. And if you guys have any questions or anything I didn't address, feel free to put them down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer anything. But I appreciate you guys stopping by, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. Want to come back for more. But until next time, see ya.